Hey guys, welcome back to Ravenclaw Reads. I'm Courtney and I'm here with my February wrap-up. So excited to get this filmed. I'm filming it on March 2nd and excited to share with you what I read. So this month I read 17 books. That was not my goal, and I am frantically looking at my notes to see where my month started. Okay, so the first book that I read this month was The Dating Game. This was a Sweet Valley High book, and I rated it, let's see, 3 stars. This book was about a guy who had sent like a love note to 2 girls. The 2 girls find out that he sent the note to both of them, and they decide that they're going to engage in dating him. And then they are going to like dump him publicly and like shame him for dating 2 girls. One girl ends up going out with him and really starts liking him. And so she's pretending with the girl she's in cahoots with to publicly dump him, but she actually likes him. They do dump him, but at the end, it all works out and the girl who liked him starts to date him. But it was just weird to me. 3 stars is the base I give for these types of old school books, but it was just weird that we were having a whole contest around dating and one guy dating 2 girls. Next up, I read Exes and Os by Amy Lea, and I picked up this book and then I read the first book in the sort of companion series Set on You and rated it 5 stars. I read X's and O's and also rated it 5 stars. I really loved it. Same sort of premise, but really good, cute romance. My theme for February was to read all romance books. If you look at my February reading plan video, I had gotten like all of these books from the library that I was going to dig into. I didn't read but one, and that's okay, but I only read one of them. It just didn't hit, and I just ended up reading, which is why I consider myself a mood reader. I read what comes to mind, and so that's it. All right, next up I read Kristy and the Copycat by Ann and Martin. And X's and O's, I can't tell you what it's about. I don't remember much about it, which is why I didn't debrief on it. I know it's a romance. I know the guy was a firefighter. The girl was the sister of the main character of the last book. Had just got actually I do remember. Okay, they're roommates in a house. And he's kind of like this bachelor guy having all of these flings and dates. She's kind of sworn off of him for a little bit, but she runs this, she's an influencer. She reads romance books, and she decides to sort of like do this dating challenge and contact all of her exes to see like which one did she miss. Like maybe if I go back to my exes, I will find that I do love them and I want to be with them. And it doesn't really work out. She's like going after this pipe dream. Anyway, she starts falling in love with him. They live happily ever after. Okay, then I read Kristy and the Copycat. This is Babysitter's Club number 74. And this one was really weird to me. It was like so out of context for Kristy. We know that the Babysitter's Club books were ghostwritten at some point, but like some of the continuity just doesn't fly. This book is really about Kristy, who wants to impress some softball players on a team she's joining. So they kind of go through this hazing, and Kristy, who has like the mindset of like never would this happen to her, she gets hazed, and they end up having her draw some graffiti on a building. That building burns up, and she has like lots of guilt around that. 3 stars. It was just okay. I don't like Kristy. As I've mentioned, I don't like Kristy books. Ultimately, I read the Kristy book because I had heard about it on somebody else's channel, and I was okay, I'll read it. Next, I read Well, That Was Unexpected by Sutanto. I've read some of her other books, and I just didn't like it. I gave it 2.5 stars. I actually don't remember much about this one. I just didn't like it too much. It's fake dating trope for sure. Then I read Love at First Spite. This was a library book. I gave it 2 stars. It's basically where a woman buys a lot next to her ex-fiance's home. He's cheating on her, or he cheated on her. They broke up. Now he's moved in his new girlfriend. So she decides to annoy him by building an Airbnb right next door because it'll be constant traffic in and out. and there's an architect at her job that can help her do it, and they fall for each other. It was just okay. There was nothing stellar about it. I do also acknowledge that at that point I had read 1, 2, 3, that would be my third romance book in February, and so I could have been burnt out. Next up, I read Icebreaker. This book was like all over TikTok. All of the young people were reading it, and yes, I said young people. And I gave it 4 stars. I've talked about this book already. It was decent, it was good, but it lacked content, and it's definitely out of my age bracket. Next up, I read Babysitter's Club Mystery number 34, Mary Ann and the Haunted Bookstore. I wanted to love this because it was a bookstore, it was Mary Ann, and I ended up giving it a 2 mentally, but on paper I gave it a 3 because I won't go less than a 3 on these books because I'm rereading them. But it just wasn't good. I've also talked about this book in my weekly reading vlog, so if you're not checking those out, make sure you go and check those out. But it just wasn't, it didn't give what it was supposed to have gave. It was like, I wanted it to be a spooky bookstore haunting, and it was really about Edgar Allan Poe, and these like, the kids in the book were really annoying, the parents were just like neglectful. It just, nothing about that book hit. So then I was kind of like slumpy because I've had several books now that were just mid, and I was really wanting to like barrel through a book. That didn't happen yet. So then I read Dawn and Whitney, Friends Forever. I talked about this one in my vlog. I was reading it to Reagan at night, so it took a little bit longer. We just read a chapter a night, and it was pretty good. I gave it 3 stars. I also don't care for Dawn as a character in the series, but it was just okay. Then my book luck started turning around. I read this, or I listened to The Stand In by Lily Chu. It was on Audible, and I gave it 4 stars. I've talked about this book as well, but it was a really great book about, it was romance. It was sort of like friends-ish, like enemies to lovers in a way, right? So we have our main character who starts standing in as a celebrity she sort of looks like, and then the celebrity's best friend, male, who she acts with, that people have suggested they dated, but they weren't dating. They start falling in love with each other. I'm not explaining this well. It's in my other video, but it's a 4. And it was a great listen. I don't think I would have finished it if I had the actual book of it, but the Audible was great. Then I peer pressured myself to finish Heir of Fire. This is my book 4 in the Throne of Glass series. I say my book 4 because there is The Assassin's Blade, which I read as a prequel, and I ended up giving it 2.5 stars. I want to finish this series. I will. As I've shown you already, I have Queen of Shadows, which is the next book in the series. So I will finish it. It's just not as hot as ACOTAR to me, but Queen of Shadows is supposed to be the best in the series, so I'm excited to get into that this month of March. Next up, I read Stacey McGill's Super Sitter. That was 4 stars for me. And I don't remember what was great about it, but I do love Stacey books, and so it was good. Next, I really surprised myself and I read The Writing Retreat by Julia Bartz. It was my book of the month pick for February, and I'm really trying to get those done in the month that I get them so I don't waste my membership. I ended up giving it 5 stars for a thriller. I never do. I've talked about this in my vlog already, so I don't want to go over necessarily the details again, but it was just a really well-written thriller. It wasn't like, I did finish it quickly, but it wasn't like I couldn't go to sleep without knowing. It was just like, oh, this is weird, and I want to figure out what happens. And so I definitely recommended that book. That will probably be my book of the month. I'm trying to, in my reading journal, document my favorite book of the month. And so last month it was Set on You. No, it was By a Thread. This month it is The Writing Retreat, my favorite book of February. Then my sister and I went into a downward spiral. We read the series, the Savage Games series. And so the first book in that's not the name of the series, but the name of the series doesn't matter. The name of the book is Savage Games. It's by Rachel Leigh. I gave the first one 2.5 stars. I've talked about this before as well, but basically the book was, originally we saw it on a TikTok and it was promoted to be something else. The first book didn't match it at all. There's like this secret society sort of Gossip Girl feel, lots of bullying for no reason. I didn't like that, so I gave it 2.5 stars, but it left on a cliffhanger, so I had to go to the second one. After Savage Games, I needed a half break, so I read Stacey's Broken Heart. I gave it 5 stars, and I really liked this one. I rarely give Babysitters Club books the 5 stars again, but what I loved about this one was that the B plot was also decent. So if you're looking for a great Babysitters Club book that has a good B plot, that's the one to go to. And again, I talked about that in my vlog. So my vlogs I will be consistent with. You don't have to, if you're not hearing enough of a review in this moment, go to the vlogs and it will tell you everything about the book. Then I read Vicious Lies, which is the book that comes after Savage Games by Rachel Leigh. I actually rated that one 4 stars, and I think the difference was I knew what to expect. I knew it was different than what was being shared on TikTok, and so it was actually pretty good, but not good enough to go to the 3rd book. My sister did go to the 3rd book, finished it. It wasn't for me. Then I was going to stop reading because it was like the 26th, and it's a short month. I like to give myself at least a day break, but I squeezed one more book in, and it was Don't Go Home with John by Francine Pascal. Again, I've talked about this in my vlog coming out on Sunday, and this book I gave it 5 stars for the content of the book. One thing I like about the Sweet Valley High books that keeps me coming back is like when the book is very full of like juicy gossip and like just ridiculousness, I'm here for it. The book was definitely full of drama, and it was definitely giving after school special. I appreciated it, and 5 stars. So those are the books that I read this month. Comment down below how many books you read. I'm trying not to read 15, 16, 17 books every month. It's just happening. I usually stick around the 13 mark, and I'm good with that, but it happened, and it is what it is. This month in March, I'm really focusing on March Mystery Madness, throwing in some fantasy, getting a break from romance for a second. So we'll see how that goes. But again, I'm a mood reader, so it could change at any second. Anyway, thanks so much for watching. Please like, comment, subscribe, and share my new channel in this very saturated booktube market. I appreciate all my new subscribers, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye, guys.